I de første 3 film lærte vi nye navne som Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi og 3PO. Nu er der flere eksotiske navne. Se også flere klip om lidt. Helle Ratbøl Karl har talt med instruktøren George Lucas og flere af skuespillerne i den nye stjernekrigsfilm. Den usynlige fjende har i øvrigt premiere i morgen.
Bernie, come in.
Go ahead.
Nathan, come in, please.
Morning. Morning. Morning.
Morning. Morning, Bernie.
Good morning, Chris.
Bernie, come in. It's Phil. Go ahead.
Are you downstairs?
Liam's here, Bernie. Any chance you could have scrambled egg bacon and tomatoes on brown toast?
Listen up. Anyone who's ready, just step outside the marquee and we'll walk you over to the set.
When I did the first 3 films, I was very frustrated about the fact that I couldn't realize what I had in my imagination. It was just not possible. And in the intervening 15 years, I've managed to improve the medium and the technology in the medium, so now that I can more easily express what I have in my head.
And action! Background action! Action!
This is the kind of film that I wanted the first film to be, but I really couldn't. I couldn't do it. I did it as best I could with people in suits and the very limited resources I had available to me. But now I'm moving it into a world where I can make it more fantastic.
For 22 år siden grundlagde George Lucas sit imponerende livsværk. Filmtrilogien om Star Wars, et uundgåeligt kapitel i moderne kulturhistorie, om myter, legender, gode og onde kræfter i det ydre rum, og frygtløse, altopofrende helte.
I think there's a classic, visual, fantastic moment in the original Star Wars. There's no dialogue whatsoever. Luke Skywalker comes out. He's just having an argument with his uncle and his aunt. He's desperate to go away and start his own life. And he looks up at the 2 setting suns of Tatooine, and you can just see all the yearning. And I guess that's it. That's the single word. The yearning that everyone has to have, to feel life, to be able to experience life, and the danger that life presents to everybody. That, I think, is a classic moment in the Star Wars trilogy, the first one.
It's fascinating as well that Star Wars can still create this fever that we sort of experience today. And especially when you sort of consider all the offers that you have all around with the internet and all the other movies, not to mention which are possible, and still people sleep in their sleeping bags. They do no matter what just to get a ticket to see the movies. Why do you think it still sort of is that important to many young people today?
I think they're nuts. I think they're just totally crazy. But I think the reason is ultimately, it's not just the film itself. It's the event of the film. It's just this thing you want to be able to say. There's like little benchmarks. When in my generation, everybody always remembers the first time they've ever made love and who that person was. They remember where they were when John Kennedy was killed. They remember where they were when John Lennon was killed. They just remember there's these little benchmarks, and Star Wars happens to be one of those benchmarks in people's lives. And I think it had to do, I remember exactly where I was when I saw Star Wars, how long I waited in line, the theater I was in Los Angeles. And I waited in line for 3.5, 4 hours, and it was a real experience, the whole experience collectively of all of us waiting. There was no hype to the movie, so we didn't know what to expect. There was just a feeling. And then when we walked into the theater and that Lucasfilm logo came on, it was like a license to go berserk. And because that's an experience you don't really have in a theater, in a film. It's more an experience that you have at a rock concert or at a nightclub. It's not an experience you have in a movie theater. That transformed the way audiences, especially young people, began to watch and see films. They wanted to interact with all these strangers in the dark and watch something that they could go, not just sit and be absolutely quiet at. That's what I think, and that never ceases to exist for any generation.
Den nye Star Wars-film, Den usynlige fjende, fortæller historien om, hvad der egentlig skete forud for den saga, vi allerede kender. Her møder vi altså baggrunden for det drama, mange af os ellers har flasket op med, om Han Solo, Princess Leia og Luke Skywalker, der skal besejre sin egen far, Darth Vader, også kendt som Anakin Skywalker, der i filmen her endnu er ung og uskyldig.
You're coming with us, aren't you, Mom?
Son, my place is here. My future is here. It is time for you to let go.
I don't want things to change.
But you can't stop the change. Any more than you can stop the suns from setting. Oh, I love you.
But I can't believe that all this world that you've created with Star Wars, it all sort of comes out of one pen and a piece of paper, and you sit there writing the whole story in your hand. Do you still do that, or does it just sound good in the press kit?
No, it took me 2 years to write this particular one. It took me 2 years to write the very first one. The other ones in between were much easier. I'm hoping the next one will be easier. But I have to sit there and write the screenplay. I have the stories pretty much. I just have to actually write the screenplay for it. They're actually rather complex screenplays. They seem extremely simple, and it's like there's nothing going on, but there's actually, it's designed in a way that's very complex, and it takes a lot of time to create it just on a piece of paper. And then at the same time I'm doing that, I'm starting to work on the designs, the actual physical designs of what things look like, which is also a very big component in these kind of movies, because it is a fantasy environment, so I have to create fantasy worlds. And I want to have worlds that are familiar, but at the same time seem like they're in a galaxy far, far away.
But is it because you sort of feel that you're more in touch with the story when you're writing with a pen? I mean, most of the people working with you must say, "Oh dear George, couldn't you please work on a computer? It would make everything more easy for us."
Well, it doesn't really. I mean, however I write, I like to write longhand because I guess I started out as an illustrator, and I like the working with calligraphy. I like making, like I'm drawing things rather than typing things, and it just makes me think better or easier. It's a habit I've had for the last 30 years of writing, I use the computer for other things, but for writing I don't.
En af grundene til Star Wars enorme succes er, at filmene oprindeligt blev skabt i en tid, hvor USA tørstede efter forbilleder og helte. Vietnamkrigen og Watergate havde for længst berøvet amerikanerne den nationale uskyld, så eventyret fik derfor en ganske særlig betydning for mange, fordi myten leverede de forbilleder, virkeligheden ikke kunne præstere.
As a young man at that time, did it mean anything for you that this was after Vietnam and Watergate and so on, that there was this lack of heroes?
I was amazed during the 70s. I was amazed by what happened in Watergate. I remember watching, coming down one night, and my father was in the kitchen. It was the first time I'd ever seen, he's a big man, first time I'd ever seen him crying. And it was the day that Richard Nixon resigned. I think his faith in the government was shattered. His belief that America was better than it actually was so fundamentally shattered. And there was a series of events, not just Watergate, a whole bunch of things. The Democratic Convention in Chicago was a real shock to everybody. And yeah, I think that Star Wars just happened to zap into the zeitgeist of the world at that time. Everybody said, yeah, this is what... And I also think they learned something too. I think collectively, the experience of going to see the film also pointed out to a lot of people that, hey, going to a movie can be fun, and they wanted to escape into something fun. And ultimately, that's what the whole history of the cinema has been right from day one. Escape. It's a very difficult thing, you know, if you're a critic, to actually accept or want to believe. But in truth, that's what makes movies, you know, I think the great thing about Star Wars is in 6 weeks, almost 95 million people have seen the movie. By the end of the summer, probably 250 million. That's just awesome. It's just amazing. That's good, especially for me.
I Den usynlige fjende er vi tilbage i en fjern fortid eller nær fremtid, hvor der bliver hårdt brug for de gode helte, da den ydre rumfred ødelægges af onde kræfters skrupelløse handelsblokade og magtmisbrug. Prinsessen af Naboo må derfor søge hjælp hos Jedi-ridderne, spillet af irske Liam Neeson og skotske Ewan McGregor, for at redde kongeriget fra den totale undergang.
Be mindful of the living force, young Padawan.
Yes, Master. How do you think this trade viceroy will deal with the Chancellor's demands?
These Federation types are cowards. The negotiations will be short.
People tend to say, well, this is media created, this is this and this is that, but that it's this way of sort of working and collaborating with so many different elements, good and evil, and still telling a lot of stories at the same time. That sort of actually is the reason behind all this so-called hysteria that we experience.
I don't know. Well, I certainly think it is the media that's created the hysteria. I don't think it's George Lucas has created it, you know? You know, he set out to tell his vision and interpret these stories, and for some reason they have it's plugged into to the psyche of certainly young kids around the world, and you know, that's quite magical in itself, you know, how a film can do that.
It's embarrassing, but my afraid might have been banished. My forgotten. The bosses would do terrible things to me. Terrible things to me if me going back there.
You hear that?
Yeah?
That is the sound of 1,000 terrible things heading this way.
If they find us, they will crush us, grind us into tiny pieces, and blast us into oblivion.
Ah. Your support is well seen. This way. Hurry!
Mange af filmoptagelserne fandt sted i stegende hede, i den tunesiske ørken, under en evig, nådesløs sol.
We do not work on a normal level. We arrive and we shoot, and nothing stops us shooting, no matter what the natural disaster that hits us. As we drove back to the hotel after our third day of shooting, I saw some lightning in the far distance. I was kind of alarmed by the lightning, but I figured it would pass during the evening. Sat down to dinner, and all of a sudden, all hell broke loose.
At the beginning, there were wind, and the sand blew up.
It's going to be very, very, very hot today.
And we couldn't get radio contact with our security guards because they were holed up in the toilet.
And they all ran to the toilet and they shut themselves in the toilet.
I mean, the main thing here is not to have panic and everybody just to be running all over the place. I think we have to head up little teams of people and work methodically through it.
It was devastating. You know, I figured maybe the tents would have been gone, but everything was gone. Let's get in here with Trish.
Remove the wall from the roof. Push the roof into the middle with the poles and pull the wall off, and then you'll find your belongings underneath.
You guys got the manpower, though, for the moment?
Well,
I think
for the
if we
moment,
get through
yes,
this,
we're
yeah.
fine. Yeah.
Okay. Liam's wig, how's that?
They're working on it. They're still finding bits and pieces.
All right.
Their moustaches and stuff.
It's only one piece.
No, it's not.
Do you think? The engine sets, look at that. That is grim.
Is it okay?
We have Anakin, the little boy. These are his engines, which play the most crucial part in the movie.
Right.
They're split in two, which doesn't look good. Yeah, this is heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking.
All right, I think, again, if we push this back to the end,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we can live with Anakin working on one engine, we've got the replacement pod, which is in good shape. This is pretty good shape. There's a little battering, but nothing that can't be fixed up. This piece we can actually crack. George was totally calm about the storm. The same thing had happened to him on the first Star Wars film.
I say it's good luck.
It is good luck.
It happened last time, and it happened this time. Almost, it's like reliving it.
Either you give up and you say, oh, let's go back to bed, and you panic. The only real thing you can do is just try and get people to rally around the task at hand. Luckily, we had this one set that we could still continue to shoot on. Pushing the pod race to the very end of the schedule, we never lost a beat after that. And we walked out of Tunisia the exact day that we were supposed to.
Svenske Pernilla August, tidligere gift med Bille, har rollen som Anakin Skywalkers mor, der træffer den svære beslutning at sende sin søn afsted, så han undslipper det slaveliv, han ellers er dømt til. Pernilla August er i dag en af Skandinaviens største skuespillerinder, men rollen i Star Wars-filmen hænger nok også lidt sammen med, at familien August er en nær ven af producenten Rick McCallum.
Det började med att jag träffade Rick McCallum i Berlin, för vi var på Berlinfestivalen. Därför att Billy hade premiär på Smilla då. Och så träffade jag Rick McCallum och satt och pratade med honom, och jag hade ingen aning om att han just då höll på och rollbesatte och castade själva filmen. Så 2 veckor senare så ringde casting directorn till mig och frågade om jag hade lust att komma över och göra en provfilm. Och så tänkte jag, det var kul, det kunde jag göra. Så åkte jag över till London och gjorde den här provfilmen. Och det kändes bra och sådär. Men det tänkte jag, det är too much. Alltså, jag hade inte förväntat mig någonting. Så jag åkte hem, eller jag åkte inte hem utan jag åkte ut till flygplatsen. Så var det. Och så hade jag min mobiltelefon. Så stod jag mitt precis jag hade precis varit inne på taxfree-shoppen. Och så stod jag med huvudet, alltså sådär. Precis när jag kom utanför så ringer telefonen, så var det Rick McCallum. Och det var så mycket folk, det var så otroligt mycket folk. Så jag stod mitt, jag kommer aldrig glömma det i mitt liv. Jag stod precis med huvudet rakt i en sån här Cartier-disk. Och så hallå. Och det tog så lång tid, så han tackade mig för att jag hade kommit över. Och de var så glada och önskade mig en god tur hem. Och så tänkte jag, nej, shit, det blev ingenting. Och han drog på det tog så lång tid. Och sen till slut sa han så bara, okay, well, now it's the question if you want to take the part or not. Och jag skrek. Jag var fullständigt. Och så sprang jag in på taxfree-shoppen och köpte en flaska champagne. Men problemet var också att allting var ju så otroligt hemligt. Så jag fick ju inte säga till någon. Så att jag tänkte att jag vill ringa hela världen. Jag vill ringa alla mina vänner. Men jag ringde min mamma och berättade. Och så kom en väninna hem till mig, så drack vi champagne.
I can't do it, Mom. I just can't do it.
Honey.
Will I ever see you again?
What does your heart tell you?
I hope so. Yes. I guess.
Then we will see each other again.
I will come back and free you, Mom.
När jag åkte till Amerika så började jag förstå lite av vad det handlar om. Och det är också lite skrämmande, tycker jag. Så att jag var med i Denver när de gjorde en sån Star Wars det var Star Wars Fan Club som hade en sån här konvent. Och så var vi där, några av oss. Och jag tänkte jag gjorde det för det är också väldigt lärorikt att stå upp och prata inför flera tusen människor med mikrofon i handen och på engelska. Det är svårt för mig, så att jag tänkte det är en utmaning. Jag gör det. Och då börjar man förstå också lite av vad det handlar om när det är så, jag vet inte hur, 10, 15, 20 000 människor som har vallfärdat från hela världen till Denver bara för att få titta liksom på leksakerna och på klipp från filmen och få möta oss då som pratade om filmen. Och då efteråt känner man också det här med fansen, den här... Bland annat, jag hade en intervju när jag stod på scen. Nej, förlåt. Utan jag stod bredvid scenen. Jag skulle upp på scen senare och göra en intervju. Och så kom det en flicka och sa att det är en kvinna som har sytt i en kostym här, sa hon. Så tänkte jag, då trodde jag det var någon i teamet som hade arbetat på kostymavdelningen som var där. Och sen så efteråt så kom hon fram. Då har hon sytt alltså en kopia. En flicka från Boston som jobbar på en bilfabrik någonstans. Kopia, och då hade inte filmen kommit än. Då hade hon sytt från trailern. En kopia av min kostym. Och då kände man, gud alltså. Hjälp.
You can see things before they happen.
He can help you.
The force is unusually strong with him.
It was meant to help you.
Anakin! Tell him to take off!
Many themes, classic themes, seems to still occupy you, like leaving home and all this sort of cards that it demands instead of staying home with everything you know. Why is it still a big issue for you? Why does that interest you?
Well, I think the separation from family, the separation from people you care about is a major theme in life. It's one of the major themes. Fear of abandonment, those sorts of things are sort of prime issues. And this is the whole film was a film about living with other people and cooperating with other people for mutual benefit. And the stress of being isolated, the stress of going from a comfortable environment and growing into another, larger environment and taking those chances are what the principal themes of the movie are.
But this leaving home theme, what did that look like in your own life? Was that a big issue or a big sort of struggle to take the decision? Or, I mean, since...
No, it's, I had a happy home life. I grew up in a great family and enjoyed things. But, and I went to my first 2 years of college in my hometown where I grew up. So I lived at home. And so I didn't really leave home until I was about 20 to go off to college. And I was definitely ready to leave home. And I think there was no question of, I was happy to go. I mean, obviously I was sad and homesick when I got off to college for years, but eventually, that was never a big issue for me. But I think that just in my studies, I started out as an anthropology major, and I went into a lot of the social sciences and psychology, and that is a major theme, and it's a major theme in a lot of mythology, and it's always a big issue for especially younger children, whether they're leaving at 5 years old to start to go to school during the day. Separation from their parents, separation from their mother is a major issue. Learning to also break away from the convention of your culture, your motherland, and say, I want to move on and grow, is the same conflict. So it's really a matter of trying to get younger people to think kind of outside the box, not just think of themselves as either regionally or culturally, but to think more globally.
You refer to the prophecy of the one who will bring balance to the force. You believe it's this boy?
I don't presume to.
But you do. Revealed, your opinion is.
I request the boy be tested, Master.
Oh. Trained as a Jedi, you request for him,
Finding him was the will of the Force. I have no doubt of that.
Bring him before us, then.
This story about leaving home, that's also a theme that fascinates George very much. In what way does it fascinate you?
Well, I think it fascinates everybody, because everybody yearns to be the person they want to be. At some point, you know, I think probably the most traumatic event for every kid ultimately is the first day he goes to school, and then the first day he goes to high school, and then the first day, you know, there's all these little benchmarks in people's lives, and it's usually about separating, it's usually about leaving, it's about going off someplace. And every time you do that, you have the anxiety and fear of leaving, but also the huge adventure that lies ahead of you, and the obstacles that face you, and these bizarre things that you're never really taught how to deal with. And usually it has to do with your character or your luck or your fate or your destiny, and how easy it is for you to achieve the things that you want to be able to achieve. And there are many broken dreams, and there are many dreams that are actually realized, and that is the kind of constant struggle that everybody has to go throughout their whole life. And I think that's what makes Star Wars mean a lot to a lot of people.
De mange Star Wars-fans kan også glæde sig til gensynet med gode gamle R2-D2. R2-D2 har altid været smertensbarn for filmteknikerne, men denne gang er den velkendte robot blevet toptunet med en Hoover-støvsugermotor, men som bekendt er ingen fuldkommen. Men intet bliver overladt til tilfældighederne, når det handler om Star Wars. For George Lucas følger selv med i hver eneste af filmens processer, her i tæt samarbejde med filmkomponisten John Williams.
He probably rang me a year ago to tell me that the time was coming, that this script was going to be ready, and that he was about ready to shoot the film, and that the music would be needed by such and such a time in the calendar. And then I would get another phone call 2 or 3 months later, and he would fix a spotting date where we go in a dark room and talk about where the music is going to go and what it should do, etc.
Then it goes from that into religioso force.
Yeah.
It just has to be something that kind of says, we're fighting back now. But I think we need to keep that kind of fighting back theme going to keep the energy up.
The great sword fight at the end of the film, the decision to make that choral was just the result of my thinking that it should have a kind of ritualistic or quasi-religious feeling to it, if you like, and that the introduction of a chorus might be just the thing.
1, 2, 3.
Ever since the success of Star Wars, I decided I would go back and tell the backstory of how everybody got there. The part for me that was the most revealing was when I first saw some film, and especially film of the desert in Tunisia. And I said, oh, I'm back. The characters were standing there, and it was Star Wars. I mean, we were back there, and it was exactly the same, and it was just like those 20 years had never elapsed. It was pretty amazing.
Anakin Skywalker, meet Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I sense much fear in you.
The boy is dangerous. They all sense it. Why can't you?
Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.